The house sat in a rare, almost eerie silence that Saturday afternoon. Even the usual creaks and groans of the old wooden floors had gone quiet, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Weekends were usually loud. Robert practicing his golf swing in the backyard. Liam locked away in his room, video games echoing through his headphones. But today nothing. I sank deeper into the sofa cushions, a book resting loosely in my hands, and let out a quiet sigh of relief. Moments like this didn't come often, and I wanted to enjoy every second of it. Just as I turned the page, I heard it. A faint, rhythmic sound drifting from upstairs. At first, I ignored it, assuming it was just the house settling. Old houses had a way of reminding you they were alive. But the sound didn't stop. Thump. Creak. It was subtle, but intentional. Almost like movement. I lowered my book slowly. Curiosity crept in, followed by a small flicker of irritation. I stood up and made my way toward the staircase, my bare feet quiet against the floor. Halfway up the stairs, something caught my attention. Liam's door was slightly open. That alone made my chest tighten. He was meticulous about his privacy. His door was always closed, sometimes even locked, especially when he was deeply focused on something. The sound was clearer now. A steady rhythm. Soft taps. Occasional muffled thumps. I stopped at the doorway, my hand hovering over the knob. Part of me wanted to turn back. Teenagers deserved their space. Their secrets. But another part of me, the part shaped by years of being a stepmother, recognized that uneasy instinct that told me this moment mattered. I gently nudged the door open. What I saw immediately eased my worry. The room was a mess, but not the careless kind. Books, loose papers, wires, and small electronic parts were scattered across the floor in what looked like organized chaos. And there, right in the middle of it all, was Liam. Crouched low. Focused. Completely absorbed. In his hands was a partially assembled robotic arm. The sounds I'd heard suddenly made sense. The light tapping of tools, the quiet movements of mechanical parts coming together. Relief washed over me. He wasn't hiding trouble. He was building something. Liam, I said softly. He startled, spinning around with wide eyes, gripping a tiny screwdriver like he'd been caught doing something wrong. Mom, I didn't hear you, he said quickly. I smiled, stepping into the room. And that's when I realized. This wasn't just noise. This was the beginning of something important. Liam relaxed slightly once he realized I wasn't upset. I was worried the noise might bother you, he admitted, setting the screwdriver down carefully. It didn't, I said gently. I was just curious. He hesitated for a moment, then shifted aside, making space on the floor beside him. That small gesture felt bigger than he probably realized. This is for the science fair, he said quietly. Next month. I leaned closer, careful not to touch anything. The robotic arm lay between us, delicate and unfinished, wires exposed like veins still learning where to go. I wanted it to move like a real arm, he continued. Not just up and down. I want it to respond, naturally. I could hear the weight behind his words. This wasn't just a school project. It was a challenge he had set for himself. It's impressive, I said honestly. More than impressive. His shoulders lifted slightly, like he was finally breathing easier. I didn't tell anyone, he admitted. I didn't want someone to say it was too hard, or that I couldn't do it. I understood that feeling more than I wanted to admit. I sat down beside him, crossing my legs on the floor. Show me how it works. For the next hour, Liam talked. Really talked. He explained the wiring, the sensors, the programming, how each tiny decision affected the movement of the arm. His words came faster as his confidence grew, hands moving as he spoke, eyes lighting up whenever something worked the way he'd imagined. Sometimes it didn't. The arm twitched unexpectedly, knocking into a stack of books. Liam groaned, running a hand through his hair. It keeps doing that, he said, frustrated. I fix one thing, and something else breaks. I smiled softly. That sounds a lot like learning. He laughed despite himself. We adjusted wires together, checked connections, tested movements again and again. Each small success felt like a victory. When the arm finally lifted, just slightly but smoothly, Liam froze. Then he smiled. A real smile. The kind that doesn't need words. I did it, he whispered. You did, I agreed. In that quiet, cluttered room, surrounded by half-finished ideas and scattered tools, something shifted between us. We weren't just stepmother and stepson. We were teammates. By the time Robert came home later that afternoon, Liam was still glowing, eager to show off what he'd built. And as I watched him explain his project with confidence, I realized something important. Sometimes connection doesn't come from big talks or long lectures. Sometimes it starts by simply sitting down and listening.